Hello, my name is Amy Garry. Thank you so much for the opportunity to come here and share my story. And working through an interpreter, I know that's not always easy to schedule interpreters and know what people are waiting for this day to come. And I'm really excited to be here and to share my story. So I am a licensed foster mother, and I've been a licensed foster mother since 2010. I had one child come into my home, and this child was deprived of language and communication, and the diagnosis never seemed exactly right, and that really was something that was bothersome to me. And so that was my last child that was adopted. And so 2 years ago, I was contacted by Mesa County, and the girl was about 9 years old and had moved and was living with a family there, was adopted there in a family. She was deaf and was new to all the surroundings, and so there was Child Protective Services involved and had to place the child there, and then contacted me to see if I would take the child into my home. So we drove out, made the trip there with a social worker, CPS social worker, physician. We had no sign language interpreter, so we had to write back and forth to communicate. And the diagnosis of that child, the child's name is Raina. And Raina let me know that there was just, she was quite rebellious. There was a lot of harm, self-harm, where she was cutting herself. And there was just this was a reactive disorder that she was diagnosed with, and so there was just a list of different medications that she was on, because she was given one from a psychiatrist to help with moods and calm things down. Then there was another one for medical needs. She had an upset stomach often, and wasn't eating, didn't have any appetite. So there were several different medications that were involved. And I asked the doctor if we could wean off some of these medications, because I knew there was a misdiagnosis happening. I could see, with my family and with my friends. Hold on a moment. The day came for us as we looked at everything with the psychiatrist and those medications. And as I said, we talked to our physician about stopping those medications, because I really felt there was a misdiagnosis going on. And so we gradually decreased those meds, and as she transferred to our home, everything seemed fine. There were no real concerns. She was a pleasant child, and was so happy, and it was really good to see that. And so as we transitioned back home, and we were looking at what medications. She'd become accustomed to taking medications, and we were explaining she no longer needed to take those medications. We wanted to make sure that we had everything right, and she even signed to us, "I'm so happy." Her upset stomach had stopped as well, and so she wasn't having those issues. And we really do see there was no interpreter for those diagnoses. There was no communication that was really happening during these diagnosis meetings, and so it really affected her care. That was just like to blindly provide a medication without knowing how to handle it, and understanding that each deaf individual will have their own case by case that needs to be looked at as an individual. And so as we went on, as she learned sign language and was given language, we even noticed that the self-harm was caused by her brother. It wasn't exactly a self-harm that was taking place. And so it wasn't anything that was, we've experienced no harmful behaviors from her now in the past 3 years. And so really all of this stemmed from a misunderstanding with communication. And to imagine yourself taking medication without knowing what's going on, what's causing that. And so, that's just one story that I'm sharing with you now of my experience, but this is a common story for many deaf people. They experience a misdiagnosis, and this goes on every day just because of a communication. So this is what I've experienced. And then I also would like to share and just ask of you to please consider the community that is struggling, that is trying to speak up. I often want to go in and tell everyone, oh, you need to make these changes, but it's hard because I don't share the same language, and that's difficult. I have to wait for an interpreter or try and figure out those communication barriers, and that's difficult. And so as you're here, I would ask you to think about including the deaf community and providing equity by providing that communication access. And so that's most of my story and what I want to speak from my family and my experience, but the community in Colorado experiences that, and I know that there are probably stories that are worse than what I've gone through. And so we have MHCD, Mental Health Center on Deafness, and we just have that here in the Denver area, but what about Colorado Springs and Fort Collins and Pueblo? They need assistance too. They need programs like that as well. So thank you so much for letting me come. Thank you for your time.